let's see, 15 of us that live here. And we only have one bathroom, one shower. It's pretty busy. Kids all have to take showers, and some of them have to take showers at night, you know.
My relatives from town come and stay over too, so there's like more than 14 every now and then. Maybe 20 at the most. This is my room. My 4 kids and I stay in here. We sleep on the top. My older 2 and my younger 2 sleep with me on the bottom.
I know a lot of families right here in Kyle that are really overcrowded. There's a lot of them that are taking each other, other family members in and helping them, keeping them as long as they have to. I said, you're welcome to come and stay. If you're hungry and cold, you can come.
In 2, 3, 4 bedroom homes, sometimes you have 4, 5, and 6 families living in there. And it's everything from grandpa and grandma down to the little Takojas, the grandkids. And it could be 3 or 4 generations in every house. A lot of our problems stem from the overcrowding. Anytime you have 20 people in a house, it's like sardines in a can, everyone's packed in tight. Then all the other problems that our people face exacerbate those problems. It's like a waterfall effect. So this problem drips into this problem, drips into this problem, drips into this problem.
It is kind of hard to live this way, but just have to make the best of it, I guess,
50 years ago, the federal government set up the Tribal Housing Authority. And the responsibilities of the Housing Authority are to utilize the resources, and the majority of them are federal resources, to provide safe, sanitary, and affordable housing to low-income families.
The federal government has a trust responsibility to help carry out these programs here on the reservation. The amount of the federal dollars has never actually met the need here on the reservation.
The first thing that people need here is shelter. And when we look at our children, we hope that they get the best education possible. Well, how can we expect that when when families don't have shelter?
Yeah, I lost my house about a year ago, and I've been living in here ever since. Like a third world country,
There's a variety of different things that are flawed in the process, and it starts with the data that's collected. A combination of flawed questions and definitions in the U.S. Census, in addition to a lack of trust of the federal government, leads to an undercount of tribal populations and an understatement of housing need.
If you go by 2010 census data, there is 8,100 people in Dewey and Ziebach County. I would estimate personally that our population is closer to 10 or 12,000 Indians on the reservation. And so when you start with flawed numbers, it drives formula funding down across the board. Everything from our housing funding to our low-income heating funding.
As a sovereign reservation, it's for them not to do their own population is somewhat like the United States going and determining Canada's population or Mexico's population and then deciding how it's going to work with them based on that.
The Senate Indian Affairs Committee will come to order. Nearly 64,000 of American Indians live in overcrowded conditions. So today's hearing is an important first step in identifying areas where housing programs are working well and determining where improvements can be made.
I'm going to speak from my heart today on the things that I see that everybody needs to hear. We had a lot of treaties that were made by the United States government that was supposed to have taken care of us as long as the rivers flow and the grass grows. That means forever. And our families are crying, our elders are crying.
Mr. Ironclad, am I missing something here? Why we don't have just an accurate assessment across Indian country of what the need really is?
Well, the data that we have ain't up to power.
The last housing needs assessment that was completed was in 1996.
Well, I think this is something we're going to have to deal with. You can look at these various programs from a programmatic level, and then you can visit Indian country. And they don't match up.
Thankfully, there are ways to approach this. We have launched a coalition of 5 tribes.
They decided to define this model process by which tribes could collect their own data, replace the data that's been collected by the census in the past, so that they can do what they've always done in their role as tribal leaders, which is take care of their people.
To be able to collect their own data and have the knowledge of their own population and not have that dependent on the federal government, it builds autonomy, it builds sovereignty, it reinforces local values.
Unlike the U.S. Census, we count the number of family units within each housing unit and the number of eligible tribal members within each household.
We're training the housing authorities who are in charge of this at the local level, and then local research associates to do the data collection.
And there's a couple reasons for that. One, it's obvious that the people on whose doors we're going to knock will recognize these faces.
People who live here, people who know the environment, people who know the culture, they're more likely to be able to gain access to houses to get that kind of information. Maxine Brokenose, she's been one of our most effective research associates and has visited hundreds of households already.
I'll introduce who I am and who I work for, and then I'll explain that I'm with the Dakota Housing Needs Assessment and your house has been selected as part of a survey. Renter, the next part is about rent and ownership. Do you or anyone in the household pay rent for the house?
It takes a real gifted person to be able to establish that relationship in just a few seconds.
Their creativity, their knowledge, their input is critical. Without them, we couldn't do this.
I'm proud because I get to go out and I get to tell people what this survey is for and that we are doing our own numbers.
Those research associates now have a set of skills that are marketable.
It's providing some really great skills in that people are learning, how to use the tablets, how to use email. See where it says under Bluetooth, it says more? Yeah.
So at every stage of this project, we review our own procedures, and we ensure that what we're doing will measure up to the standards that we have and the standards that the federal government will have in reviewing this data, and it has at every stage.
We're trying to create a model that other tribes can implement at low cost and have a realistic estimate what it's going to take.
I'm really comfortable that this is a process that can be replicated. The 5 tribes were a good mixture, representative of a lot of tribes. There was just a lot of diversity within the partners themselves.
Other tribes can look and say, this is something that we can do. This is a process that allows them to collect their own data and challenge and then replace the census data for their reservation.
So the Dakota Pilot Project is going to have a huge impact on these reservations. It's going to affect formula funding hopefully across the board, everything from housing to transportation to low-income heating. It's going to allow us to go back to the federal government and say, here are the actual numbers.
Once that data is collected and verified, then all the other tribal agencies can use that for, when they're writing proposals, when they're seeking government funding.
What we've been able to get out of this really enhances our operations. It enhances our future planning. It gives you real-time data that helps you plan better.
Good morning to each and every one of you listening to Kili Radio. This morning we have some important message for you, and they are very important to housing and also to the people of the Oglala tribe. So at this time
I want my people to have a good home to go home to. I want them to be safe. First of all, I want to greet everybody out there with a warm handshake this morning.
From the Dakota Pilot Project emerges a new model that will allow tribes collectively to reconfigure a faulty formula into a formula that is designed to serve the poorest of the poor.
With this study, it's giving us the accurate voice to tell this is how we are, this is how we're living.
Dozens, if not hundreds, of houses could be built from the increased funding that this could generate.
Knowledge is power. We can't begin to solve our problems unless we know exactly what we have to deal with. You can't build a house without a good foundation. In this case, the foundation is the information.
You see a lot of people looking like they want to give up, and I felt the same way in the other house. But I mean, a bigger house, like I said, it gives you somewhat hope. So then you start looking in areas like, well, I should start going out here and clean my yard now. I got a nicer house, you know. Maybe other people would take that same thing.
It doesn't matter if you don't have furniture or fancy things, as long as you have a warm home to go home to. And this Dakota Housing Needs Project is giving us that key to succeed with whatever we need to do.